ICE just publicly executed another U.S. citizen, Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse. And I wanted to do another heavily edited video like the last one, where we discussed the last major incident of a U.S. citizen being murdered by ICE, Renee Good. But honestly, all of yesterday and today, I have been seeing more and more camera angles and news articles and public reactions and statements by the administration, and I just really need to talk to you guys about it. And this is going to be more of a venti video, so I don't really know how this is going to come off, but I needed to talk about it because the last time there were so many people on the right, including the current administration, from the president and vice president to random podcasters, that were claiming that Renee Good was a domestic terrorist trying to run over all of the ICE agents she could. And there was a huge debate, right, on what actually happened. And so there was a lot of hyper analyzing everything, and it seemed important to make a very heavily edited video because a lot of people were just either running with the false information that was being fed to us by the current administration or whatever. But what just happened with the execution of Alex Pretti is so black and white, there cannot be any good faith debates to be had here. And I'm not going to play the actual clips in this video because by now you've probably seen it yourself. And if not, you can easily find all the different camera angles or, bigger videos that are actually, combining multiple camera angles to analyze the situation better. But to kind of just tell you what happened and what's going on, if you haven't seen it or don't want to watch the horrific videos, ICE agents have just been continuing over the last week or two their kind of campaign of violence and intimidation on the people and city of Minneapolis. And in this instance, it starts where they shove a woman to the ground. Alex Pretti, the man we're talking about, tries to help her up, but is then pepper sprayed and pulled to the ground by several ICE agents. And then they start hitting him repeatedly, like with a canister of pepper spray. More officers approach, some bringing out their guns, and one agent appears to remove Alex's legally registered firearm from him, and then they shoot and kill him over 10 times. And so, unlike the last situation, right, where there were some people that were able to try to run with the narrative of, oh, Renee was trying to run over this person, and there was all of this nitty gritty of analyzing the details. All of the footage, to anybody that actually has eyes, is so obvious what happened, right? And the right and the current administration is trying to claim that just like Renee Good, Alex Pretti is also a domestic terrorist. And I just have a couple of, quotes from some of the people high up in this administration, how they are trying to label this situation immediately after it happened, right? Kristi Noem says he is a domestic terrorist who assaulted officers and came there to perpetuate violence. Greg Bovino, the high up guy in ICE himself, says that Pretti had intent to massacre law enforcement and he was trying to do maximum damage. Stephen Miller, super horrible person in the Trump administration, said Pretti was a would-be assassin who tried to assassinate federal officers. Tricia McLaughlin of the DHS said that Pretti approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun and violently resisted being disarmed, prompting defensive shots. And once again, anybody that is seeing any of these videos knows that that is just not what happened. Like, we're living in a reality where, and I truly don't think that any of those people actually believe what they're saying, right? They're just trying to get in front of the story because otherwise, I mean, what? You admit that you're allowing these things to go on. I mean, you can't, with Renee Good and Trump and the vice president and all of these people started to claim that ICE just has total immunity to anything whatsoever. They can do whatever and get total immunity. They'll be backed because they're fighting fighting the good fight against the leftist democratic terrorists, right? And actually, since they've made those statements, some of them have actually retracted that a little bit. But by saying it in the first place, they're signaling to the ICE agents what they actually mean. I mean, you can read between the lines, right? It's not hard. I mean, and something I have been talking about 6 months ago is when they're even trying to get ICE agents to come join, right? Obviously, they're doing all of these financial incentives like, oh, you'll get some money, or we'll pay off your student loans. But conveniently, they're also using all of these actual legitimate white supremacist and Nazi dog whistles in advertisements for ICE. They're including songs that have white supremacist and Nazi language in them. The art that they are releasing, the AI generated posters that they are creating that we've talked about like 6 months ago, right, are very resembling of things going on in Nazi Germany. And that is for a purpose, right? Because they can claim that, like Trump now is saying, oh, Renee Good's dad was actually a Trumper. And, actually maybe ICE does make mistakes sometimes, but it's important, right? But it doesn't matter because they are already trying to, get the overall ICE agents to just continue this violence, right? And it's very interesting because the right is normally the side that believes in the Second Amendment, right, is constantly talking about how we need to arm ourselves with handguns and assault rifles and freaking bazookas sometimes, depending on who you're talking to, right? Because you need those weapons to fight against a tyrannical government. But now, and I know I shouldn't do this, right? Because yesterday and today, right, I'm trying to work. I'm trying to make all of the fun content that I enjoy and that my audience enjoys and all the fun gaming content. And I want to get back to making fun, random videos on this channel, right? But then I'm doing the stupid thing that I shouldn't do. And I'm like, I'm curious how conservatives are looking at this, right? Because unlike the Renee Good situation where they can kind of hide behind, oh, well, with that, I mean, we had some comments on the last video from some people that were absolutely insane that were just like, well, fuck around and find out, right? Don't impede law officers. Don't put your car in front of ICE. Like, fuck around, find out. And it's like, first of all, to those people, whether or not you think that someone is impeding in law enforcement, right? And there's a whole argument whether ICE is actually law enforcement, right? But whether or not that's an argument, do you think that gives someone the right to shoot someone in the face and kill them? Like, is that how our U.S. system is supposed to work? I know we've been throwing out due process, the way all of this ICE stuff has been going on. They're just kidnapping people off of the street, whether they're a U.S. citizen or not, whether they have papers or not, whether they have a warrant or not, right? The due process doesn't exist, right? And so in this instance of due process, are you saying that it is being away? Are you saying that it's okay, even if it is true that you're impeding these officers and stuff like that? Does that give them the right to publicly execute them? Because that's what's happening here. We saw from a million video angles, a man is just trying to help a woman that was pushed on the street. He gets pepper sprayed, smashed down to the ground. They're beating him, and then they shoot him over 8 times, 8, 9, 10 times, killing him. That's a public execution. And so I'm going to these conservative subreddits, right? Which I shouldn't, because I know half the time it's probably just bots and things like that. But I'm genuinely curious what some people's takes on it that have been defending the administration up to this point. And I see an insane handful of people that are continuing the same dialogue, right? They're saying, fuck around, find out, don't impede the officers, just let them do their thing. And it's like, man, all of these people that are on the right and that are supporting all of these things and are Second Amendment people and they're NRA gun owners and stuff, and they're flying the "Don't Tread on Me" flags in front of their houses. But now they're like, well, actually, you should just let the tyrannical government do whatever they want. And I've also heard some people start to say that you shouldn't bring guns to protest, right? A lot of people, even though, Kyle Rittenhouse bringing guns to protests and then ends up killing some people, and he becomes like this huge hero for the right. And now they're saying that, don't bring guns. Don't bring guns to a thing. So we're already having like the Fourth Amendment being impeded by which, speaking of which, there was a whistleblower whistleblower that recently released a memo that came out to ICE agents in the middle of last year or so that pretty much told all the ICE agents to ignore the Constitution, ignore the law. They do not need warrants to break down people's doors and kidnap them, right? And so they've been operating under that. They kept it a secret because they knew it was illegal. And, now that a whistleblower is coming out and stuff like that, they're just defending and double downing and saying, yep, you don't get your Fourth Amendment. So now they're coming and saying, you don't need your Second Amendment. Don't bring your guns. Don't bring your legally registered firearms, right? He was trying to murder all of these people. That's why he got killed. But anybody that has eyes can see that that's not what happened. We have the FBI head, Kash Patel, saying you do not get to attack law enforcement officials in this country without any repercussions. We are not messing around, which once again is just a blatant lie, right? He was not attacking anyone, right? I mean, if you want to make the argument that he was impeding ICE's ability to just harass citizens, then sure. But once again, that is not warranting you to tackle someone down to the ground, pepper spray him, beat him, and shoot him 10 times until he's dead. That's a public execution. That same FBI director, Kash Patel, also suggesting that it is illegal to bring guns to a protest. And so it makes me so mad because I just constantly have been, growing up, and I'm someone that is, a proponent of, we need more gun control. I'm so sick of all of the school shootings that go on, and to hear the right constantly say, we need guns, we need to be able to fight from a tyrannical government. And then here we are, tyrannical government things are happening. And now we're being told by those same people that actually you should just let them do whatever they want. Guns, right? Defending your home, it's not actually important and stuff like that. And also, as I'm editing this, I forgot to mention that Pam Bondi is also now today come out and said that ICE will only leave Minnesota if they turn over their voter database to Trump and the Trump administration, along with also just allowing ICE to do everything illegally that they want to continue doing, to not impede the illegal operations, to prevent people from protesting or rioting as they're describing it. And so it shows that it's never been about like getting rid of just the illegal criminals and everything like it originally was, right? This is purely an intimidation tactic to try to get them to hand over their voter registration rules, which like every state is given the right to like do voting as they want. And so it's so obvious what this all is. And so I just can't help myself, but going and seeing the way a lot of these people are talking, right? And so like on the conservative subreddits, on some places on Twitter, on TikTok, right? You have a lot of these people that are mimicking and parroting a lot of the things that the administration is saying. Oh, fuck around and find out, you shouldn't impede, you deserve to get killed. A lot of them saying that the deportations need to ramp up. And what I'm also seeing though, surprisingly, is actually some people on the right are starting to wake up, are starting to realize that, hey, maybe even if I supported, some of this stuff, the way things are happening is not okay, right? This is actually what I have been preparing for and trying to speak up for this whole time. And this isn't okay, right? You have some podcasters like Joe Rogan, right? Who huge help in getting Trump elected, right? By platforming a lot of misinformation and disinformation and allowing Trump to just say whatever he wants on his podcast and all of these things now being like, oh yeah, actually this does kind of seem like the Gestapo a little bit, right? And it just makes me so mad because it's like, when is it going to be enough for some of these people, right? We talked about in last episode how, it's starting to become apparent to me how, in times like Nazi Germany, how things were allowed to get that bad. Because obviously I'm sure there were people that were trying to speak up and they were getting, targeted and things like that. But also there's just a lot of people that are complicit. And that brings me to my next point is I know it's really hard to talk and speak out against a lot of these things, but as a content creator, especially in the gaming space, it's starting to like anger me more and more and more when a lot of these content creators are not saying anything. They're not speaking up about anything like that, right? And, I'm not saying every gaming content creator lives in the US and is actively seeing this happen. And I mean, there's arguments of like, there's horrible things going on everywhere in the world. I mean, what's happening in Iran? Like I'm making videos on everything going on in the US because that's where I live, but Iran, right? I mean, they've killed over like 20 or 30,000 protesters. Like, what's going on here is like a million times worse in Iran, right? And so, I'm not someone that's just like wanting to like be like, everybody needs to speak out about the things that I want them to speak out about. Otherwise, like, they're traitors, right? Because I understand that there's more nuance in that in the situation, right? Because, not everyone lives in the US. I'm not trying to be one of those, dumb Americans that is just trying to say that everybody, like the world revolves around me and my country and everyone needs to talk about it. But there's so many content creators that I know are based in the US and are either A, silent about it because they support what is going on, or B, they are terrified of losing part of their base or part of their audience, and they want to stay middle of the road. They want to just only make gaming content and things like that. And I get it. Also, once again, right, I hadn't wanted to make a political video on this channel in over 6 months. And then with Renee Good, I felt like I finally needed to. And now with all of this, I feel like I really, really need to. And trust me, I want to get back to making fun content on this channel, but like we need to speak out about what's going on. And, I always try to like end these videos with like an overall moral or like a statement or a goal or like something that we could maybe learn from or something like that, right? And I mean, I talked about it a little bit on the last episode. It's like, what can we do from here, right? Because it feels helpless. Every day feels like it's getting worse and worse and worse here in the United States and for people that are affected. I mean, our good friend Daniel from the podcast, right? He lives in Minneapolis. Like I am hearing firsthand accounts of what is going on from him, right? And the first thing I want to say is I just feel like more people need to speak out against this. And I'm not going to even pretend to claim that that's going to solve everything, right? But I think it is just infuriating to hear silence, right? And I'm not going to name any names because I'm not trying to, get myself in trouble. But, I have worked with a lot of bigger content creators, like a lot of them. I've done a lot of collabs and stuff like that. I've met a lot of amazing people. And I've also met a lot of people that in the moment seemed cool. But then when you kind of start to actually see the way they behave behind the camera, you realize that they are just supporting all of this. And so one thing I just want to say is a lot of your favorite content creators probably are okay with what is going on or support it. And no one should be idolizing any content creators. We're all just individual people, right? But I do just want to let you know that if you're not hearing someone speak out about things, there is a decent chance that they support it. And once again, this is kind of coming from a privileged position because not everyone is in a position to speak up about things. But like, I don't know, it's just as someone who has chosen to grow my channel slower because I'm not afraid to speak up about things, it makes it infuriating when I see people just ignore what has been going on, right? But beyond that, what you can do, there have been, nationwide protests. I mean, in Minneapolis, there was a giant strike one of the days, thousands and thousands and thousands of people going to the streets, even though the wind chill was like at -20 to speak up about what is going on, right? The biggest thing also that we can also talk about is just voting. I mean, I'm seeing more and more and more articles of direct quotes from people in the administration, from Trump to people like Elon Musk, to all saying that if the Republicans lose the midterms, Trump will most likely be impeached and held accountable. Hopefully that didn't seem to happen last term. So maybe the Democrats will actually learn their lesson, right? And hold people actually accountable. But we can potentially stop this if we vote, right? And it obviously feels like it is transcended past that. And, we're seeing armed protesters, going out and needing to protect and stuff. And, it's hard because I don't know how to speak up about things like that. I don't want to go tell everybody to go grab a gun and start firing at people like that. I don't want to be that, but every day more and more and more feels like that is going to be coming soon. Like we're getting close to a civil war, because if we are in a situation where someone can get publicly executed in the street, and there's a million video angles of it, and everybody can tell, yet there's still a subset of people that are just going to believe anything that is told from them, from the higher ups, right, in the administration. You know, what is that saying? It's like, you know, the quote from George Orwell: "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." And here we are. Like, this is where we are. We're at a crossroads in this country. And it's really going to take either all of these people to actually finally wake up, right, and demand that things change. It's also going to take, you know, not only we can hold the Republicans accountable that are allowing this and doing this, but we also need to hold accountable the Democrats that are allowing it to continue happening. There was a couple of them, 7 or 8 people that still voted to fund ICE continuing, and their defenses are, oh, well, you know, they already got like 75, like a million or whatever the insane amount was from the big, beautiful bill. And that is true. Like, ICE, even if there was a government shutdown and the Democrats like shut down the government because of all of this, it has already been funded. Like we have a crazy giant military Gestapo here with ICE, being funded by the big, beautiful bill. So I understand the sentiment of like, oh, well, we're trying to give them a little bit of extra funding in exchange for trying to like make some of this behavior be better. But at this point in time, ICE just needs to be abolished, right? And I understand that in more sane times, right? If Trump was actually like telling the truth and like, he's like, yeah, we're actually going to just deport all of the violent criminals, right? Okay. Like, once again, I don't know who necessarily is going to be debating against that and not believing that, right? And I understand that, you know, there's a lot of arguments in the past when I've talked about how ICE is so much worse than it used to be. And I've had some comments of people being like, well, no, ICE has always been horrible. You're just not in the affected group. You know, you're just privileged enough to not have to notice what is actually going on. And I totally acknowledge that. But also, it is not hard to easily say that what is going on right now is completely different. I mean, you know, yeah, there were a lot of deportations, but it was a little bit closer to going after, you know, criminals and stuff. Now, is some of them, okay, well, this guy's has some pot on him and now he's a criminal. Like, that's different from there being like a violent criminal or something like that. But in its current form, ICE needs to be abolished. And, you know, maybe then once we're past that point, we can kind of rebuild a smaller, more trained actual unit that is actually going after the criminals, I suppose, right? But in this moment, my argument is it needs to be abolished, and we need to hold all of these people accountable. We need to try to, you know, go beyond that. And I've seen some TikToks and videos and talking in a more optimistic route that, you know, maybe this is the extinction burst. More and more Americans, even those that might have voted for Trump or not voted at all or voted third party, are starting to see the ramifications of their actions. And, you know, as long as the midterms are actually, you know, going as planned and there's no shenanigans there, then we can actually prevent this and stop this and, you know, hopefully start to rebuild. But in this moment, we really just need to speak out and support one another and keep an eye on each other and, you know, build community as always, you know, because it's scary. You need to have people, you know, around you if possible, friends and family and, you know, online friends if need be, you know, because it's scary times. And I don't have a perfect ending for this video. And I know that this video has just been rambly and ranty, and I'm just upset. I'm really, really upset on so many fronts. I'm upset at what is going on, and I'm upset for, you know, my friends that are literally living in this fucking war. Like, I'm on a Discord call with Daniel, and we talk about, like, for an hour, all of the horrendous things that is happening, right? All of these people getting killed around him are just a block away, 2 blocks away. And it's so hard to talk about all of this and, like, have all of these emotions and then be like, okay, well, life is still having to somehow move on. Like, like, do you want to play some video games? Do you want to try to like talk about things that aren't like, it's so hard. And so, you know, I understand there's a lot of people that just feel very exhausted. Right. And, you know, yes, like I said yesterday, I had so much work I wanted to do. I wanted to edit up all of my YouTube videos, and I wanted to record an extra Hollow Knight video and like all of these fun things. And I just can't, because I'm frozen. I'm frozen, stuck to my screens, watching what's going on, seeing it play out, seeing the lies being told, seeing so many people still eating up all of the lies and spewing them, right? And I am seeing more and more people actually opening up their eyes to what is actually happening. I am seeing more content creators than I have previously speak out about some of these things. I freaking saw Asmongold, of all people, I think, referring to now ICE as like, oh, maybe this is actually some Gestapo stuff. Like, right? Like, you know, when people like Asmongold are now saying these things, like something is wrong. So the question is, what happens now, right? And I don't know. I'm just a dude, right? And that is what this channel is for me to do whatever I feel in my core that I need to do or want to do in less dire circumstances, right? And I've got the gaming channel, and I'm going to keep doing that because in times like this, right? Like, I want to be able to provide people a safe space and a kind of outlet of just, being able to chill and relax from things and stuff like that. But it's also important to be informed and know what's going on and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't have a way to end this. I'm going to keep rambling for another 15 minutes if I keep going. I just felt in my core that I needed to talk about this situation. So I appreciate you listening. Take care of your guys' selves. Take care of your community. Keep an eye out for each other. And stuff like that. I have some family members who I'm telling, more and more and more of this stuff. I'm a very political person, and I'm always told by these family members that I don't want to name that, oh, well, before it was people were arguing with me that I was wrong and I didn't understand the situations. And now these family members are no longer saying that. They're no longer defending what is going on. And I'm just being told to shut up and worry about myself. But like, what is that other quote? Like, if you don't speak out for other people when stuff's happening to them, well, they're going to be taken away or whatever. And now when they start coming for you, no one's going to be there for you to speak out. And so, if there's any content creators that are watching this that have stayed silent, I urge you to speak up in whatever form. I'm not someone that's saying everyone needs to do, but it's just do more. Everyone needs to do more. And care about this more, and not to the point where you're rehabilitating yourself from living your life, because we still all have to find a way to move on. But, just hold each other accountable a little bit more, like call out bullshit more, like stop taking like people's I don't know, like I'm having to cut people out of my life because it's not like before and several years ago, a lot of these things, arguing politics, you could have a difference of politics. It's not a difference of politics anymore. We're talking about a difference of morals. Is it okay for agents to push a man down, pepper spray him, beat him with the pepper spray, and then shoot him 10 times dead? Is that okay? Are you okay with that? If not, speak up about it. Make sure you vote. Make sure you register to vote. Make sure you're voting for someone who counts. I will vote for fucking anyone who promises to hold these people accountable for real, unlike last time, after January 6th. And then Trump just pardoning them all. So do what you can. Stay safe. I know this video probably wasn't fun to watch or listen to. It was not fun for me to make, I promise. I just felt in my core that I needed to, and that is what this channel is for. So stay safe out there, guys. I don't even want to do an outro. I don't feel like it. I'm just going to end this video. But stay safe and watch out for your neighbors, for real.